Welcome back, frame by frame. We have the ring muscle up here. We got Krista. We're gonna break her down. So what you're gonna see to start is that these two starting positions when we jump up to the rings is different. So Krista's using the method that we used to teach, and this is us transitioning to a new method of starting up on the rings. So I'm just gonna break it down. So she jumps up. Notice she's really behind the rings, getting into that false grip, and then she kicks up into a pike. So there's two things here. One, this is going to be a little bit different for my version when I go. But in the main thing, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build some momentum. I'd like to see, if we're still using this method, I'd like to see that pike a little more pikey, get those legs out a little bit more, and maybe the false grip doesn't have to be as aggressive. So then she hops through, and then goes into her arch. So, just from there, it takes a while to do all of that. But the idea is that we're jumping into that hollow position, falling into the arch, and it gives us a little extra momentum. But we can do that a little quicker. So we're going to be straight underneath the rings. We're going to jump straight up. We're going to just kick our legs up really high into a pike. I'm taking my rib cage into my abdomen. I'm rounding my pelvis. I'm pointing my toe, just getting really into that pike position, then swinging those legs down, and then hitting my arch. So this is where we can start breaking down the movement, like frame by frame. So you're going to see in this position, I'm much more upright. My eyes are straight. I have a nice arch in that position. We have a little bit of a bend in the leg right here, and then I feel like the head's just a little too far through and coming down. I'd probably like to see that a little more neutral, but she's working on getting back to ring muscle ups, so I think she's just giving it all she has on this one. So pretty good position, and then what we do is we swing through. Notice those legs elongate, which this is probably the position that I would have liked to seen right about here. I think that's decent. Maybe get those legs a little straighter. That's probably where we want to be. And now she swings through. I love this position right here. That's about what we want, right? So I'll get about that same position here. Slight back is here. We're kind of in a pike. This is a good position to be in. Head slightly back. And then what's going to happen is she's going to focus on driving with the knees up and the hips up. And what I like to focus on is not necessarily thinking about knees and hips. What I like to think about are feet and hips. And instead of thinking up, I like to think out, up and out. We're looking more for like a 45-degree angle. We're trying to go, zoom back in. Trying to come up this way versus going straight up. So we start coming up, and those legs bend, right? We want this long lever. It's going to help us create more power. So the longer the lever, the more power we can get. So I have a slight knee break in there. Keep working on that. And notice how we start getting that weightlessness, that floating position. All right, so we got there. I like to see the hips a little bit, like I said, a little straighter leg here. All right, now we have the turnover. So this is when it starts getting a little different. So what happens once we start getting that momentum coming up, we start getting weightlessness, and then we want to turn over the rings. And what you're going to see here is that Krista starts turning over and like pulling through. Notice how she's not touching the rings. She's not on the rings. Like there's still a gap here, but she's turning over, right? She's kind of coming through, and look how deep that is. It's like really deep catch, really deep, and she makes it, right? And it's because what's happening is we need to be just a little bit more patient, wait just a little bit longer, and let that momentum take us up. So as I'm coming through here, I'm floating, I'm coming up. And now you can see I'm in this seated position and the rings are like on me, and that's when I think about turning over. All right, so let's see where her shoulders are, clear. Right, and see how my shoulders are a lot higher in that position. So we want to let those hips, we want to let it float up, then turn over. And she's just turning over just a little too early, a little pulling with those arms a little bit too early, and it's going to make that turnover a little harder. And then you can tell that there's a little bit more of an arm bend. You can see that left arm is bending a little bit more. And when you start getting kicky, see how the one knee is up? Generally that means there's a bit of a chicken wing there. And so if the feet are uneven, that means we're kind of muscling that up. There's an uneven pull where my feet here are even the entire time. And then I shoot through. And notice my torso relatively upright. My feet are out in front of me in that turnover. So turn over, and then her feet aren't as far through. That's like, we'd like to see this piston just a little higher. And then the legs will swing through, and we can use that momentum to drive out of the dip. And we support ourselves over. And then she drives up using that dip and coming. And look, there's a lot more movement in the rings from the start because of jumping behind the bar and that hollow to that arch position. So the main points that I'm seeing is arch position. We want to make sure we're hitting a tight arch position. When we're coming through, we're thinking hips up and out, not up and out. We're being patient in the pull, waiting. Then we're turning over. Again, feet out. Notice all these levers are really long. My feet are long the entire time. My legs are long the entire time, even when I'm coming down. Clear. Long legs. Out and up. All right, that's all I got. Hopefully that helped. Arch position, hips and feet out and up, patient in that turnover. Hope this helps. Cheers.